Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, August 17th, and we are on the European account and I need to challenge a friend. Ooh, that is going to be a nightmare, so if anybody is on the European account, jump on now and send me a challenge. Let's see, we've already done the Tavern Brawl. Right. Yeah, and this is the one that would cost gold or money. So the only other thing to do is play 6 pirates or reroll this. I guess I'm committing to over the weekend. I was going to do a lot of paperwork and scheduling this weekend anyway, so this is probably fine. If I can't get a challenge a friend as we're playing right now, I will just do that. That leaves us with, since this new expansion, which isn't even here, the Boomsday is not even on the European account yet. Interesting. There's going to be over 100 Boomsday puzzles when that occurs. Like, I have Boomsday cards, clearly. I opened Boomsday cards. So the European account seems like it's not even going to... what a weird glitch. It literally was just not there. So Tuesday this is going to happen, and I guess I'll probably try to stream all Tuesday and do all the puzzles. Over 100 puzzles shouldn't be too hard actually. But for right now I just need to pick standard and play. So let's try Death Rattle Hunter. We'll just go down the road and we'll stick with victories and move away. I've now looked at the endings for the 3 main characters in We Happy Few. I've heard more people talk about it. The same people talk about it some more. It might be a better way of describing it. And what it strikes me as is there's room for some editing and a mod, because you get 2 hatches and doorways and they load you into a section. If you made a mod, and I don't know if there's going to be enough people passionate about it, that took out most of the side quests and just moved the single story sections forward, just kind of fading out, jumping the character from the doorway that leaves their headquarters, your central location. From that point you load very close to the place you need to be to do that mission, and you get rid of the open world element of it. I think you could probably slow down the well, not slow down, but speed up the experience to make it something closer to a Telltale game with a little bit of interaction. I don't know if you keep any of the fighting in the game at all, and you definitely would get rid of all of the like survival things, having to take joy or not. Or what they would do is they would leave it so that you could take joy or not, depending on your own decisions in a few places. There's these devices called downer detectors that detect whether you're on the joy drug or not. I imagine you could have somebody appear right in front of the downer detector. They should have a joy in their inventory. They can take it, or they can, or they should have the hacking equipment that would be the alternate option instead of doing that. Let's see. I'm gonna go and kill that. That way they can't kill this one.
Job's done.
But as it stands, We Happy Few is not really worth playing. The credits aren't, the endings aren't really great. I would say the main character that you see, the character you play as at the beginning, his story is all centered around like the fact that the society put a bunch of children on trains headed for Germany to either be raised as German Nazis or just straight up executed, you know, killed. I don't even know why they would bother to put them on trains if they were just going to kill them, but that seems to be what happened. And the main character is remembering that his brother was on one of those trains, and that is his motivation throughout the entire story.
I hunt alone.
The second character, as best as I can tell since I just watched the ending, is the female character. Yeah. I want to also say that there's 2 male characters and 1 female characters. The revelations kind of put the female character as a victim and only a victim, and in a good light, where it kind of puts both of the male characters in a bad light. It's like, it's a little unbalanced, like, but not terrible. The female character, I believe her name is Sally, seems to be, best as it seemed like, she seemed to be running some kind of prostitution ring that was like government sanctioned or something, and somehow she had a baby, and apparently you can't have babies, so I don't know if the joy specifically stops that from being possible, or they just, anybody that has a baby gets it taken away. And so her ending is revolving around trying to protect this child and escape from a society that won't allow children to be around, particularly since the baby cries and they don't want anybody who is a downer who would have any negative feelings, and a baby will certainly have negative feelings or bring about negative feelings around that. The third character seems to be more of a Scottish character that's trying to reveal that the truth and reveal that they've run out of food, and that everybody needs to stop taking the joy, and because they're all eating rats, and the drug is making them feel like that they are not doing that, or hallucinate that they're not eating vermin. From the endings alone, you don't really spoil yourself too much. You kind of figure out that there is an outside world, and Wellington Wells seems to be this isolated section that has just been forgotten. So you don't know what the rest of the world really looks like. DLC might go into that more, maybe not. They are making DLC, which is kind of silly and ridiculous in itself. But I think, as I said at the beginning, the best way for them to have told this story is to simply have turned it into a very low interactive Telltale-esque game, instead of trying to have it be this open world survivor game, which is what it was originally. And so there's almost certainly a major disconnect between the amount of work that was put in to put in those survival mechanics and the amount of work that was put in to tell the story. And so very, very late in the development, the story was added. Too late, later than you normally would have it as, and that's kind of the only part that anybody cares about.
It's time for a little blood.
So they would have had to make a very, very difficult decision to edit it down into a better game. It is also a Kickstarter game, so it's trying to make something that it really isn't. Let's see, magnetic and taunt, or destroy a random enemy. I think if I do this, I'm cool.
I comply.
Kill one. And then in return, I wanted to just say all that. We Happy Few has a 1.3 hotfix right now. Let's see. The game was incredibly buggy as it was released. Jim Sterling tried to blame this all on Gearbox, and I don't really see any evidence that it really is the publisher Gearbox's fault. I think that everybody in the upper management knew they had to get this game out and stop teasing it or stop bleeding money on developing it. They needed to just put out this game, which is, I think, their first game. So they're not a AAA developer really. They're a small indie developer that decided to try to make a AAA game, and that was the big mistake. And I think Gearbox, while you can be very critical of them to say that they didn't really support it or advertise it, they probably did the right thing now that you see it's not really a good game. So it would have probably been putting good money after bad. Gearbox did help them get a game where you constantly are taking drugs out in Australia, when now having seen how the joy works and how often you're taking it and you're just constantly taking drugs, it makes a lot more sense as far as why a game like that would have been problematic to them.
Ooh, I wonder what this does.
Oops. Well, I guess that was what it was going to do regardless. So Gearbox almost certainly helped there, and you could have, for as much as Randy Pitchford says he stands by his team and he supports his team, this is really a great example of them not blindingly standing and supporting We Happy Few's developers. Let's see. Sometimes the keys wouldn't spawn to finish a level. Fixing crashes, fixing memory leaks. Yeah, so this hotfix, the 1.3, doesn't drastically improve, doesn't change the story or the gameplay or anything, but there's bugs throughout everything, as I've
I wonder what this
seen
does.
and heard. Right, how do we want to handle this? Just end the turn. And with that, I think I'm done talking about We Happy Few until somebody goes in there, somebody with some passion. I've started watching this guy who is remaking and fan editing Star Wars Episode 8, which is an awful movie, and I think almost everybody agrees with that opinion. So he's trying to fan edit it and make it good. I think there is a fan mod, a fan edit of We Happy Few, where a normal average player would be in a position where they would be willing to spend the time and effort to play the fan edit and get the story and the experience without doing all the grinding and all the side missions, because I imagine most of the side missions don't add anything, or they could at least be whittled down. Seems like there's a considerable amount of walking, so just just a simplistic fast travel mod where you could point anywhere on the map and fast travel might reduce 60 to 70% of the gameplay time in the first move. But yeah, until there's some kind of major things that changes, I'm done with talking about We Happy Few. It's not a game I'd be willing to play right now if I got it for free, which I wouldn't be surprised if it is on one of these Humble Bundle sites that gives away for free. For example, Insurgency and Orwell both were given away for free as games that were kind of overhyped by the mainstream video game media and then not super appreciated. Let's move on to Freeze Mage. I also, while I'm playing, let's go ahead and see if we can add people as friends to get some more friends on the European account.
Jaina versus Malfurion.
I must protect
So yeah, I've gotten two new, relatively new, like 1 or 2 year old games. Like just for free. I wouldn't be surprised if We Happy Few is free here in 4 to 6 months. The reason why those games are free, I assume, on the Humble Bundle store is that people are selling or trading keys, or the Humble Bundle store is buying keys from Steam and then just has a glut of them for one reason or the other, or buying Steam keys from the publisher directly or getting them donated from the publisher directly. And when a game's not as well received as they thought it was going to be received, they have a glut and they just give them away. Generally, the free games you get on the Humble store are not amazingly good games. It does open up some questions about what November will look like this year, since November was last year an experiment on just spotlighting and looking at games that I got for free, and I went through quite a lot of games, certainly, but that's not something that just immediately I think I'm gonna repeat. If anything, I kind of would want to give Orwell a little bit more of a try. And I was burning through, I think I was just going alphabetically through all the games and spotlighting them all. It added a lot of work. That was definitely the case. Let's hit this. And do I want to do anything? I don't know. We'll do that. Why not? Alright, moving on. We have a game called Exodus Proxima Centauri. Looks like it might be a 4X game, a space game. They say it's a strategy board game, adapted from the original board game. Exodus Proxima Centauri. Pitch you against up to 5 opponents to fulfill your role as explorer, colonizer, politician, military commander. Make the best tactical decisions, as there can be only one winner and leader of humankind. So yeah, this is one of those board games, space games. Graphics don't look amazingly good. It looks like something you would see early 2000s for a PC game. There might be a big fan base that would push you and make you want to play this on PC. I do have to wonder though about Tabletop Simulator instead, or is this too complicated to be played on Tabletop Simulator? It's $14.99. It says it has English full audio. I'm not sure I completely believe that. And it's from Off-World Games Incorporated, who's made one other game from 2015 that only got 6 reviews. 6 user reviews in the past 30 days. Or ever, actually, I think. And their other game is called Rainer's Kniza's The Confrontation. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is... They're getting really lesser known board games and trying to turn them into PC games. And that niche is just not enough of a... I don't know if that's successful enough as it is. Now this Freeze Mage, to win, you basically need all the cards you can get to play the full strategy. I don't have it. Next game we have on Steam is called Shahrazad, S-H-A-H-R-Z-A-D, the storyteller. I believe this is a misspelling of Scheherazade, the storyteller, the character in the story 40 Days and 40 Nights, or no wait, it's the story Arabian Nights. Yeah, that's the name of it. Where she's married to this evil sultan who kills his wife after the first night that he marries her because he gets bored with them, and to keep herself from being killed, she tells these stories. One of the stories was Aladdin and the tale of Aladdin and several other ones. But let's see. This is just a hidden object game. It's with, let's see. Let the world of 1001 Persian Nights mystify you. Persian Nights. Do they not call it Arabian Nights anymore? Was that a mistranslation? I've always heard it as Arabian Nights. Well, this is a hidden object game. It's not from Big Fish Games. It's 10% off for $8.99, and it's in English interface only. Wanna look? It's the first game from this developer for $9.
What to do?
I'm sorry. I just kind of feel like there's a lack of quality when it seems like you're misspelling Scheherazade. Let me double check that. You know what I can do? I can highlight this and then search Google.
I wonder.
Let's see. Alright.
Time runs out on me.
I have a Wikipedia listing here from 1001 Nights character. Yeah, it is 1001 Nights. It is pronounced, it is spelled on Wikipedia S-C-H-E-H-E-R-A-Z-A-D-E, or in Arabic it is spelled S-H-A-H-R-A-Z-A-D. Just double check here. Yeah, they still misspelled it. The storyteller in 1001 Nights. Like, every translation I see here tells me that they've misspelled the main character's name. Arabian Nights redirects here.
I wonder.
So, Arabian Nights apparently was Yeah, it was often known in English as the Arabian Nights, but it's 1001 Nights. So yeah, I mean, what can you really say other than it seems like there was such a lack of care there that they couldn't even bother to spell the name correctly. So a cheap hidden object game in itself is not a high motivator to make you want to play the game in the first place. The pictures look fine, as any hidden object game should be. They're full of a bunch of stuff. It doesn't seem like any of the screenshots indicate any kind of interface, so you may just have to click on things. Right. This one has been silenced, so let's do this. Right. And let's do this.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Reality, woven. Job's done.
All right.
My thanks to you.
So yeah, so much for that point-and-click adventure game. I'm no interest in that. Let's move on. The big news story today. The Gamma Sutra has this article, but a lot of people are reporting on this article. Gamma Sutra's article is Steam's content-driven freeze on game approvals expected to last for months. So let's see. Let's do this.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Let's do this. Freeze a minion and the minions next to it and deal 1 damage.
Let the pain speak to me.
Change the cost of the minions in your deck to 1. I actually don't probably need to do that. Back in July, game developers started to notice that Valve was delaying the approval of certain builds that had been submitted to the company for release on Steam. At the time, noted that it was indeed holding back some titles for release as the company worked internally. Now, the story has been kind of shifted, and it's no longer as much a focus on, oh yes, the visual novels and the sex games are getting delayed approval, which I still think that is very much what's going on. Instead, it has now been shifted to saying just all or some group of undescribed and unnamed types of characters. Let's see.
Job's done.
Styles of games. Let's see. The company working internally to bring new filtering options to the widely used platform, but offered no official time frame on how long that freeze would last and the criteria of the games being affected. And we've hit the point now where it is just censorship by a different name. Like I said, when Valve threatened to take off the sex games, and then there was a bunch of backlash between that they may just silently try something different. I'm pretty sure I said something like that. I certainly thought that. And that seems like what they're doing now is, again, whether it's Campo Santo and the new hires that came to Valve, or if it's somebody who's been in Valve for the longest time, somebody certainly seems to be on a censorship at Valve, and every second you're not allowing one game onto your store for these reasons, while you're allowing other games onto your store, you are effectively censoring. And this is, you can label it whatever you want. Governments have done this all since the beginning of time. They've said, oh, we're not really censoring. What we're doing is we're just trying to find the category here. It's the same thing that the Australian government says, and like the German government says, is that if these games aren't classified, or if we can't give these games ratings, then they can't be sold. Well, that's still censorship. So the story goes on. Now, 1 month later, another developer has reached out to Valve about a game stuck in the approval process, only to discover the title is being withheld until those new tools are in place. A process that Valve rep says could take months. Now, I don't know if this might be a case of the Valve reps just being told to say the wrong thing, but it seems almost true too. Well, we didn't win there. Let's move forward and see if we can add a new friend. Like, they are holding things for no reason, and it's very odd because there's plenty of like slider anime girls and some level of this of appearance coming out still. So some games definitely are coming out. I don't know if this is a case of Steam Greenlight is approving everything, and possibly the publishers that aren't going through Steam Greenlight and paying that $100 development fee each time, maybe that is the case, because it seems like the people who they should be maybe holding back a little bit, if they're going to hold anybody back, are still getting through, and then the people that say, no, actually we spent some effort on these games, these are actually the good quality sex games, if you believe that there is some level of good quality sex games, which some people would agree with and some people wouldn't, those are getting held back. Let's see. The quote here is, we're right in the middle of building some new features in the Steam for customers to be able to choose the type of products they see in the store, reads the response from Valve's Sean J. Quote, your game has content in it that needs these features to be completed and shipped first. You'll have to do some additional store page workaround describing the content in your game once we've completed those features. We don't have an exact timeline for those features, so please be patient as we complete the work. And so they're bankrupting people, basically. Like, if now it's not smart to have no money when you release a game, but it is somewhat close to the case that a lot of games come out and you need to start making money in that quarter. Several months put you out of one financial quarter and into another by adding delays, and this is inherently why delays are not something people like or want to tolerate in the video game industry as far as the publishers. Also, people playing games don't want the delays either. Speaking of which, Spyro the Dragon trilogy got delayed about a month. It was probably a good thing for them though, because it'll probably be more polished. Let's see. Sean J apparently is either the person that is the representative. Sean, S-E-A-N, and then capital J. Sean J goes on to note that the work on these tools is indeed progressing, but not in a way that allows him to provide a narrowed down time frame for the release. However, in response to devs on questions about meeting the game's planned September 7th release date, Sean J tells them to assume months at this point. based on just the developers coming forward, it seems like visual novels and some degree of adult content are in the crosshairs of approval of this approval freeze. One such dev shared their recent conversation with a Valve employee seemingly from the Valve developer portal and noted that their game was being held despite censoring out adult content and images from the Steam edition ahead of time. So even if you are trying to avoid this by censoring out the content ahead of time, which would have been an acceptable middle ground if Valve just told you, look, we'll let your game out if you censor it like you used to, like we used to require, and then you can put out an updated patch and when we have these new features. That would be a honest and realistic way to deal with this, is to say, right now we're going to say no. In a few months time, the patch will be coming that will allow you to patch out that content, to patch out the censorship. Let's see. A step that Dev says has worked for their past releases on Steam. See, so the developer says they've even done this before. They've censored games out for the Steam version. Well, Valve has yet to comment on the criteria, and Valve never comments on anything, of course.
Protocol 7.
The battle.
Let's see that. Well, Valve has yet to comment on the criteria under which they're selecting games to withhold from Steam for the time being. Sudden policy enforcement shifts have slighted visual novel developers in the past. And I don't know why they're specifically targeting visual novel developers unless the visual novels have sexual content or suggestive dialogue. The phrase here, suggestive dialogue, is not getting played or used as a tag, and maybe that is in part the problem here. But if you're making a visual novel and there's no dating or romance in it and it's getting caught in the crosshairs of this, that's completely unfair. Completely unfair. Is it just anime characters? Is it just the moe art style in which anime characters look like shorter and younger and frankly not realistically human at all? Is this all censorship in some way to appease some country around the world that you're not in? It could be. It very possibly could be that they're withholding and censoring games worldwide to be in line with Saudi Arabia's laws or the European Union's laws or Germany's laws, or I mean, it could be something crazy like that. Let's see. At one point a few months back, we already talked about this, Valve reached out to several visual novel developers and threatened to delist their games, all of which had been previously approved for a Steam release, until those devs patch out the content deemed inappropriate. However, Valve later backed down from those threats. Or did they? Like, clearly there is a snake in the grass at this point. Like, you can't say there isn't. Somebody has it out against visual novels and sex games. And I think it is the Campo Santo people. Alright, so I'm gonna have to move over to the Asian account unless somebody decides to hop in really quick and allow me to. Let's just watch this guy. Now give me time to talk. Let's see.
The light shall bring victory.
I mean, it's weird that Valve would come out and say Valve shouldn't be choosing for players what content they can and can't buy, and here a month later they're doing exactly that. They said they would be allowing all content outside of content that is illegal or straight up trolling. Troll games have not been hampered in any real way. Like, the problem here, the problem here is Valve is clearly just needs to be reorganized. It needs a leader at the top and not Gabe Newell, who doesn't clearly want to be a leader. It needs to have a strict structure in place. It needs to get rid of its bonus system. I'm looking at 3 comments here. One says, can you please just increase the Steam Direct fee already? The volume of releases are smothering legitimate commercial projects. Even a simple increase to $200 would do the job. I'm not sure if I agree with that. The other ones, there's a comment that says, hate and revenge, okay, dismemberment, okay, decapitation, okay, extreme blood, gore, and viscera, okay, war, violence, cruelty, and murder, okay, hugging and kissing, be really careful where this is hidden, eroticism and love, ban this S forever, equals modern standards, which I think, he's kind of right. Like, there's probably a game out there where you can decapitate something, like zombies or something, certainly, and everything else is true. There's definitely hate and revenge motivations and characters and talked about in stories.
Thank you.
Let's see, yeah. Meanwhile, we have games like Ducks and Goobers on Steam, which is a pixel graphics, MS Paint looking, looks like it's a tower defense game. Still happening here. It's like, this is still happening. Ducks and Goobers is 20% off for $3.99, has 16 Steam achievements. I'm not going to suggest that game, definitely. There are other articles that we'll come back to talking about Steam effectively censoring their market, at least on a temporary basis. Like, in the meantime, we also know that, like, China hasn't approved the game in a very long time, so they're effectively censoring all video games. Seems to be mostly because of there not being anybody in charge of the censored boards that... Can I squelch this guy? Yes, I can. That's interesting that if somebody is watching, they can still get spammed by somebody even if you've squelched them. Like, China's in particular hasn't approved the South Korean game out of spite for a long time. I imagine Russia doesn't approve a large amount of games, but I'm not sure there's even much of a market for buying legitimate copies of games in Russia. For a long time there wasn't. Every single game that, even if you went to a shop and tried to buy a legitimate copy, you were still buying some stolen, copyright infringing, cracked version of the game. Gamma Sutra has a weekly jobs roundup. There's a lead producer for Velen Studios in Troy, New York. There's a promotional artist for Phoenix Fire Entertainment in Corona, California. There's a game designer in Inno Games for Hamburg, Germany. There's a submissions specialist for Atlas USA, quote, Sega of America, for Irvine, California. I wonder what the submission specialist deals with the ratings boards, apparently. Senior environment artist for Remedy Entertainment in Espoo, Finland. Feels like that job has been out listed multiple times in the recent history, past month or so. We've got a game on Steam called Coloring Pixels, which it's like a paint by number game, which inherently it's not terrible looking, like a single screen kind of Unity type game. You see these boxes with different numbers, and as it seems like you either individually or using a flood fill or some other system fill in all the colors. I bet there aren't too many of these, but it is also a free-to-play game, so the price is right. 70 Steam achievements, free-to-play.
Unity, precision, perfection.
Let's see. Yeah, it has 60 plus levels for free. Doesn't seem like there's any kind of microtransactions or anything here. This is probably a very good way to release a simplistic, like, first or second year project for a video game programmer onto Steam. Like, give it for free. It's not really more than what it, or it's not trying to pretend like it's more than it is. A game like this also probably would be kind of difficult to play on a cell phone, just because the pictures can be really, really big. I'm looking at the video and they're filling in a really, really big picture of the moon with different shades of gray and black and white, and it was very zoomed in. So I would say if I was going to cover free games, Coloring Pixels actually gets my seal of approval, whereas I don't have an official seal of approval or anything, but I'll give it a thumbs up and say, yeah, that looks like something that might interest some people if they want to do a paint-by-number-esque game. And being on a monitor makes a little bit of sense. Next game we have on Steam is called Hexaverse. It says it's an early access strategy game. It's another game where you're on a small planet, and it looks like you're resource gathering. They say it's a turn-based multiplayer strategy game. You're on like hexagonal grids. This really seems like it is a direct rip-off of a game I saw about a week ago, where you were on small planets doing resource gathering. Alright, we gotta leave here, and no. Alright, well, I've learned my lesson about watching other people play Hearthstone. If they're just going to jump into the next game, let's move over to the Asian account. I'll deal with the challenge a friend off screen. Hexaverse is $4.99 with no discount. Multiplayer only, therefore it is of no interest to me. Gamasutra has an article. The Tekken and Yakuza voice actor Unsho Ishizuka has passed away. He, I believe, is probably better known as an anime voice actor. He voiced, let's see if we can get a full list of things instead of me just mentioning things off the top of my head. Let's see, who do I... Paladin or Priest, I think, versus Warlock or Priest. So I'll roll that. Let's see. Use your hero power more than 20 times. Okay. I think we can do that. Let's play Control Priest. Let's see. Ishizuka voiced a variety of characters, notable video games including characters in Tekken Tag Tournament 2, Tekken 7, Yakuza 3, and Samurai Warriors. I'm not going to name the characters. He also appeared in many popular anime shows, the Japanese voice of Professor Oak in Pokemon, Jet Black in Cowboy Bebop, and Von Hohenheim in Full Metal Alchemist. I believe he also played Mr. Satan in Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Z. The veteran actor has been receiving medical care for esophagus cancer, but according to a statement from his talent manager, no treatment proved effective. So, yeah. You have an old voice actor, old guy that died. We're gonna see more of this. I say this every time as voice actors and creators of the first generations of video games and animation in this case start dying off. We'll see more stories. The game Cube, Q.U.B.E.2 has some new DLC that they've released as part of their season pass. The base game, Cube 2, if it's the game I'm thinking of, was a bit of an interesting experience because it's, yes, this is the game I'm thinking of. Cube 1 was just a straight up puzzle game with no story, and Cube 2 added a story to it, and they're adding more content. Cube 2 is rated very positive, 83% of 304 user reviews. It came out May 13th, 2008. So I will make sure, I guess, that the DLC is in my wish list. More and more I'm trying to put DLCs in wish lists. That way I have a general idea of what ones I want to get, what ones I don't. I'm not picky at all on DLCs. Generally I want all the DLC so I can show off the entirety of the game, and so I want to get a deluxe version of the game no matter what. But there are a lot of opportunities where people could gift me a game that might be on sale for like $5, and then the 4 bits of DLC might be on sale for $5 each. So then I'm spending $25 on a game instead of $5 has been spent on that game, or I'm spending $20 extra because somebody gifted me a $5 game, which that's certainly not financially a good way to do business. Moving on, PC Gamer has a article, NVIDIA's outlook on cryptocurrency GPU sales is great news for gamers. The cryptocurrency boom is over for now anyways. I heard, yes, that a lot of the cryptocurrencies had major downturns. I think a big part of that certainly is that I think the cryptocurrency markets were based a lot on speculation and manipulation, and the true value of cryptocurrency, if there ever is going to be a true value, I don't think has been found yet. I'm not going to read this whole article though. The title says it all. This is good news because hopefully the 2080 series of graphics cards are not marked up ridiculously or bought in major bundles. Of course, this is also the only thing they really could have said. I'm not sure what else they could have said. They've already made it clear that they don't want cryptocurrency miners buying their video cards, and they want to sell it to people who are buying video games. That way people keep making better looking video games. That way people keep having to buy new video cards. Moving on, Your Gamer has an article. 25 years later, DICE's long-lost Mega Drive game will finally see the release. Let's see. What is this game called? Hardcore was the name of it. Its fate sealed in an afternoon meeting with publisher Psygnosis, where all Mega Drive projects were dropped in order to focus on newer hardware. So, there's a trailer here for this game, Hardcore.
Is someone injured?
It's a pretty old school name, certainly. And see, what I'm seeing right now, just to start off with, as a pixely depiction of a character, looks better than Tanglewood did. But yeah, Hardcore looks like it is a Contra-esque run and jump platforming game with probably a little bit of Metroidvania. It seems to have some top-down sections where you're driving a tank. Seems like you're shooting at all times. They're calling it a Euro-style 2D gameplay with hardcore gameplay. It's coming to the PS4 and the PS Vita, and it seems like, honestly, this probably wouldn't have run with as many enemies and as many particles on the screen. I think there's very possibly been some polishing and finishing and changing. Let's see. Yeah, the article goes down to show a 1994 unreleased build of the game, and this is like an 8-minute video. And looking at what it looks like in this instance, it's being shown on like a projector to people. There's considerable less particles and enemies on the screen. The speed at which you're moving and firing seems to have been reduced. Yes, this is much more in line for what even a hardcore game on the Sega Genesis would have been like. Not the fast-paced trailer for the new version of it. So they're taking the concept and tweaking it. I'm supposed to be using my hero power, and I know I'm not. Yeah. But I am certainly more than willing to look at Hardcore if it came over to PC. But I don't think it is. Seems like it's just PS4 and Vita. I don't know if there's... It's really just a historical reason, though, you'd want to look at it. I don't think it's going to be a eShop million seller game. And I'm sure there are no physical editions coming out. Unless they're going to do like Tanglewood did and release the ROMs and sell actual cartridges. Let's see. Deal 1 damage, so like to play with fire. Let's keep on playing. We have a game on Steam called Leder Panzer, L-E-D-E-R Panzer. It says it's an early access action indie game. To me it looks like it's an asset flip game where you're playing as a tank wearing a sombrero, apparently. Like, Yeah, this looks like it's a troll asset flip game from a developer called Mind Altering Games, which has made nothing else. They want $9.99 with no discount. It has 7 Steam achievements. Yeah. I think it's pretty easy to just immediately dismiss this as a kind of looks like a cell phone cheap game too, where you can put different characters on top of these tanks and you're making the tank fly. It's just all over the place. Let's see.
Blood and plunder.
Let's heal. Let's play. Play. And end the turn. We have a game on Steam called Cupid's Love Crisis. It's just labeled as casual. And there's a bunch of screenshots. It looks like it is kind of a clicker game, sort of like Asteroids. There's like these green hearts that are coming to you that I think are good. Either that or in the trailer the player is playing very badly. And then there are these red like devil hearts that you're supposed to click on to stop that. And there's like blue hearts too that I think are good. And the Cupid is just in the middle of the screen doing nothing. There's just a slight animation of his wings flapping, which there aren't even really angel wings. It looks more like just insect clear wings and clouds in the background. Just a very low effort game here. 33% off for 66 cents. Bundles, of course, in bundles. No achievements though, so I don't know why they're giving away games. But this is one of those games that has items available for purchase, and in buying items they're probably trying to do some shenanigans with this, so I would heavily suggest avoiding Cupid's Love Crisis because it's a bad game and there's probably some shenanigans there. Let's see. Deal this. Heal this. And then we need to double. Let's see. Attack here, and then the turn. We've got a game called The Adventures of Mr. Fluffykins. It seems like it's a 3D platformer, kind of that Nintendo 64 era of games. You're playing as a skinny version of Garfield, I guess is how you might describe it, as a cat walking on his hind legs with a blue hat and orange with black tiger stripes. He's jumping over platforms where there's these pickaxes hitting things. He's gotten through that point, and then he just threw a bomb and it defeated a bunch of enemies, and he just threw a bomb and it broke a wall, and now there are logs falling. Little bits here seem like ideas for a 3D adventure game, but there really seems to be no polish. Seems like the cat has like a rolling attack, and you can pick up logs and throw them. The enemies turn into confetti when they die. Let's see. Double this. And do this. And let's attack here. And heal here. And heal these.
I don't need any of you.
And then in the turn. I mean, I guess I could hit that.
Quickly.
Yeah. I don't know, this game looks like it's just not polished enough. This looks like a game that might end up in an awesome games done quick because it's I've seen certain games like this before. It's early access, they want $14.99.
I want you, and you, and you.
It's supposed to have 6 unique levels, which seems kind of small. Yeah. I guess I'll keep an eye on it. Like, this is almost certainly a game that not too many people will buy. It's first release from this developer who is self-publishing. That is kind of weird too. You would, had this had a publisher, had this game had more support, I think like it could be a longer game, a kid-friendly game, a something that tries to be secondary to a Nintendo game. It's a new IP, so that's a problem too, or it might be a good thing depending on how you look at it. Alright. Well, start with that, and we'll play that.
What is my purpose?
And we'll heal that, and then we'll play this, and then we'll do that.
For me.
And now he's got only 1 life. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article, Mastering the Road Ahead, How Urban Planning Can Inspire Your Game Updates. It's a blog, not an article. I guess I should make a difference there. Like,
So many.
there's some bullet points here. This seems like a oddly phrased and contextualized idea. Instead of having a blog that says how to improve your game updates, let's look at urban planning and talk about them for no reason. Let's see. Like it really does seem like it's a false correlation or that's being made here for no real informative reason. It's not like people know urban planning like the back of their hand. You'd have to learn urban planning to understand the references, to understand game updates. You might as well just explain the game updates by themselves. I only used the hero power 5 times. Wow. Well, it's been over an hour, and it's time to wrap up. As for that article, don't think there's really anything there that I need to cover. It's an article blog if you want to read it. We've still got plenty of news to talk about and a little bit to do. I don't know how this has happened, but we've started having a lot more news than gameplay, and I guess that's fine, but it's gonna get weird too. Well, you know what it's gonna do is it's gonna give me more opportunity to get up in ranked play and maybe make it to rank 19, 18. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, I'm asking people to friend me on Steam and gift me a game or gift card. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.